All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get serious. We have this story from the New York Post. This is big news. Daniel Penny to surrender and face second-degree manslaughter charge in Jordan Neely chokehold. That's right. Despite the fact that we have video showing he tried to save the life of this man, despite the fact we know this man had been arrested dozens of times, kidnapped a child, punched an old man in the face, punched a woman in the face. We know that he was threatening people on the train and said he didn't care if he got hurt or went to jail. 3 men took it upon themselves to subdue him. This guy is going to have to surrender for manslaughter charges. Up to 15 years in prison. I would not be surprised if he is convicted and sentenced to the maximum. That's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was convicted. I would hope that the judge wouldn't sentence him to the maximum, but I would have no faith in New York's justice system to not. Considering the pressures that would come from the activists and the left more broadly, he's got almost no chance. He wasn't initially even charged. Like, they had to go to a grand jury. It's not like it was
They did not go to a grand jury.
Oh, they didn't?
They did not go to a grand jury. Nope. They just decided, I want to charge him.
Well, that only makes the my opinion of the whole thing worse, and it makes my opinion of the outcome more dire, I suppose. I don't see this guy getting out of it in one piece.
What about
activists
you?
went on the street?
Pessimistic?
No, I mean, I think the only things that are illegal in New York at this point are political opposition, self-defense, and desecrating the pride flag, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing they'll actually hold you accountable for. You can't be surprised. It's a narco-tyranny at this point. The whole reason you're out there is you let these people loose, you let them terrorize the average person, terrorize the population, and then as soon as anyone stands up for themselves, then you go ahead and strike them down, for daring to, take care of themselves and not rely entirely on the state. It's very clear the state's not going to do its job. It's not going to protect these people. It's only going to persecute people who they disagree with. And then as soon as you step up and you try to take care of yourself, you're out of there. And I don't understand how anyone's still living in these places at this point. It's horrific.
So here's a quote. It is stunning that they would make an arrest before presenting this to a grand jury, defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor Mark Betterow said Thursday following news of the charges. Bragg made a political call. He now owns this. Absolutely, it's political. We all saw this coming. We knew it was going. Kim Potter, she's the cop who, the guy dives into his car and she reaches for her gun. She thought she was tasing him. She yells taser, but then shoots him and kills him. And when that happened, we were like, oh, she's going to prison. And she did. She recently got out. We do have a give, send, go for Daniel Penny's legal defense fund, which is currently at $71,332. I bet if I refresh it, it'll go up. Refresh, now $90,000. See, this defense fund was launched before the charges were announced. Now that they've been announced, it seems that people are flocking to it and giving this man money, and I won't. We were talking about this earlier, and I've been talking about this quite a bit. And I talked about this with Kim Potter years ago. Look, I hope this guy gets acquitted. I think it's terrible what they're doing to him. But at a certain point, I'm just wondering why it is that people keep sending their money into burning buildings where the fires aren't being put out. Like, we're talking about the city of New York engulfed in figurative flames and people being like, I'm going to go walk in there. And you're like, no, dude, like, come on, seriously, man, don't go in there. Like, no, I'm going to go in there. You're like, if you go in there, you're going to get burned. I'm going to go in there. Then they walk in, start screaming, help, I'm on fire. Like, I'm not going to go in that building. I think it's ridiculous at this point. So here's what ends up happening. People on the right, libertarians, post-liberals, disaffected liberals, send money to the defense of people who are choosing to live in places where we know they will destroy you unjustly, and it drains resources from us. It takes money from you, and that's probably on purpose. It's like the villain when the superhero is like, I'm Superman and you can't stop me, and then the Joker's like, oh yeah, and then points the weapon at the kid, and then Superman's like, oh no, now you've got me because I care about other people. This is what they're doing. They're holding us hostage, keeping us off base by targeting innocent people and threatening them with 15 years in prison. But look, it's tough. I don't want this guy going to jail. I think he was doing the right thing, protecting other people. And clearly these 2 other guys agreed with him and helped him subdue this guy. But at what point...
And the passengers thanked him.
Right. And then he tried to save the guy's life. But at what point are we going to be like, we can't keep throwing money at people who choose to live in communist jurisdictions?
I mean, you see this all the time. You see these videos and people all say, why isn't anyone stepping up? You watch someone harassing a homeless person or some crazy person attacking people, getting violent with people, and they're like, why aren't the men stepping in? Why aren't they taking action? And this is the answer. Everyone understood what was going to happen here, especially, again, due to the racial dynamic. Let's be really honest. This guy's white. The guy who died is black. And that's all that mattered. Before anything else, that's all that mattered. That's what everyone saw. It's what all the liberals were acting on. And this guy had to be held accountable because they're going to hold this guy up as being murdered. They're already talking about, oh, he's a really kind guy. He's having a lot of mental health troubles. He's a very sweet person who's performing on the subway with Michael Jackson impersonator. No, he's a violent criminal who had felony charges out against him. It's very clear that he's a threat to everyone around him. The city made sure that he was still in public, and as soon as anyone stood up to him, they're in terrible trouble. I know that people want to stay in these areas. I understand. I have a lot of friends who say we have to stay in these areas because this is where culture happens. This is where decisions happens. But at this point, I don't know how you say. Yeah, you're gonna have a family here where you know that they're encouraging violence and you know that it's illegal for you to defend yourself. I mean, how can you just can't exist in this place.
And culture is dying. Disney is losing subscribers by the millions, and your vote doesn't matter in places like New York City.
Yep.
But if you move to a suburb of New York, or even, a swing state, move to Ohio, move to Georgia, and go to a suburban area that desperately needs your vote. And that's the front line of what's going on. What's happening now is people are like, I'm going to choose to stay behind enemy lines and then ask you for resources. And it's just like, dude, you know what I want to donate to? I want to donate to a small business in Georgia right now. I want to donate to Scott Pressler. I don't want this guy going to prison, but it's like, how do we have to allocate funds to a guy who's like captured effectively, but chose to go there and is not doing anything in terms of winning a culture war? Y'all who are in these cities, I know it's hard, but if you move to Ohio and move to a suburban area that was purple and shifted everything red, we would be winning. Instead, there are people who are choosing to live in places like New York and then being surprised this is happening.
If you live in New York City, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how far away the corner of Pennsylvania is, but I know it's like an hour and a half or something like that. It's possible you could move to Pennsylvania and still work in New York if you got to stay there, but get out of the cities. I mean, I moved to New Hampshire a decade and change ago because I wanted to get out of Western Massachusetts because I didn't want, the laws that Massachusetts had. And Massachusetts at the time was not nearly the place that it is now. So, I mean, you're in control of your own life. You can't control what your neighbors are voting for. You can't control what the people down the street are voting for. You can control where you live. Get out of cities and make sure that you are taking care of you and your family.
Yeah. If you think you're going to be the person who saves Illinois or New York or California, just know that you're liable to have this happen to you or one of your children, or to have your children be put on puberty blockers and taken from you and mutilated.
In New York City, there are violent protests against this man, against him. People are not protesting for him. They are marching violently and attacking cops because they hate him. I do not see that as a salvageable place. No one in New York likes what he did. The people of New York like this. You see the video of the woman getting punched in the face? She tells the guy to take a chill pill and he clocks her clean in the face. That was 2 years ago. 2022 comes around. They vote for it again. What are we supposed to do? Just tell him like, okay, keep doing it? Nah, look, obviously the woman got punched in the face, did not want to get punched in the face, but she'll still vote for the same policies. Obviously the woman in San Francisco who was dragged to death did not want that to happen to her. She was robbed. She chased after the people who robbed her. They murdered her. Her friend was on her way to her vigil. She got mercilessly beaten and curb stomped. Literally, they stomped on her head on a curb. But these people, despite these things, will come out and be like, I feel bad for the perpetrator. How many times have we heard these leftists come out and apologize for the person who victimized them? Like at a certain point, these cities are just not salvageable. Like, and it's been years of this. So we need to be on the front line winning a culture war. And that means getting your family somewhere where your vote matters substantially more. And it doesn't matter in New York or San Francisco. Are you going to donate, James?
I don't. Well, thanks for putting me on the spot. I don't know. Yeah, looking at his legal fund, I certainly I'd have to look into it, but I think it's a worthy cause. I hear what you're saying. These places are incredibly dangerous. If I had a family, I absolutely would not stay in New York. Now, I understand this is easy for me to say because I'm not tied to a career in a particular area, but I also know people who have moved out of cities in order to protect their family, and that's supposed to be your number one priority. The reason, in truth, right, if you're a married person, well, what's the point of your career if not to support your kids? And if you have to stay in an area where your kids are going to be harmed in order to have your career, I think it's obvious that it's not worth it.
I have a friend that I was just talking to today that lives in the city, and he's going to get trying to get a permit to carry. He knows that he's probably not going to get it in the city, but he's trying to get it for Nassau County. But anyways, he went and he had the class today, and he was talking to the instructor, and they were going down the list of the laws and what is and is not acceptable or legal in New York, and he was totally unaware that essentially he couldn't defend his own life in New York. He was unaware that if he shot someone that was in his home armed, if he shot them and he didn't kill them, that they would sue him and they would probably win, and that the family, even if he did kill him, the family was going to sue him, has no idea. Your average voter is unaware of the circumstances that they live in. So again, it's one thing to be like, oh, I want to be in the city, etc. You should probably check out the laws in your area. You should be aware of the voting record or the prosecution record of your DA before you vote for the DA. You should probably be aware of who your DA is before you vote for them. And if you're in a city, it's probably too late. But when you actually decide to get out and go to another place, be aware of the people that are running, so the new place that you go to doesn't turn into the garbage place that you left.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.